Think back with me for a moment. You remember the first time you walked into the lunchroom at your school? The sounds, the smells, the hundreds of kids with all those ham and sloppy joe sandwiches, and, well, hopefully the ham and sloppy joe sandwiches were not all on the same sandwich, because that would just be gross. But yeah, the lunchroom. It's an inevitable part of growing up, a rite of passage as kids learn to navigate the landscape of a school cafeteria. Kids grab their lunchbox, stand with their lunch tray in hand, they walk with their class, and without so much as a ready, set, go, the kids are off and running to find the best seat with their best friends to eat the best lunch ever prepared. That, or the PBJ that Dad quickly threw in the lunchbox on the way out the door in the morning. But what if you're an introvert? What if you don't want anyone to see what you've got packed in your lunch? What if you don't have a best friend? Or for that matter, any friends at all? What if you're not sure where you should sit? What then? You know, fewer places can evoke more stress in kids than a lunchroom. But at the same time, the lunchroom is a place where you can discover who you can trust and who you can call a friend. In the lunchroom, the introvert may learn that he can have great conversations when he's asked the right question. The kid who doesn't like their lunch may find someone willing to share or trade from what they don't like from their own. And the girl searching for a best friend may actually find the perfect friends sitting across the table. While the lunchroom can be stressful, it can also be a place to discover something amazing about friendship, which, let's be honest for a moment, is something we all can work on from time to time. That's why this September, we're headed to the lunchroom to discover more about friendship. We define friendship like this: using your words and actions to show others you care. Whether it's a kind word, sharing a pudding cup, or simply making space at the table. We want kids to understand that what they say and do can help others feel like someone likes them and wants to hang out with them. Everybody wants a good friend, right? Someone they can have fun with, someone they can turn to when life gets hard. But in order to have good friends, you need to be a good friend. And the writers of the Bible have included stories and principles that help us understand what God has to say about friendship. And throughout the month, we'll take a look at how we can be a friend who does just that. We start off the month answering an important question: what makes someone a good friend? And we find the answer in something Jesus said to his disciples in John 13:34. I give you a new command: love one another. You must love one another just as I have loved you. Along with that, we'll take a look at one of our most famous friendships in the entire Bible: David and Jonathan. I mean, these guys went through a lot together. From making a promise to help each other, to escaping the dangers of Jonathan's own father, King Saul. They showed us exactly what it meant for friends to love each other. Next, we unpack the question: what does it mean to accept a friend? Paul wrote in his letter to the Romans, Christ has accepted you, so accept one another in order to bring praise to God. Paul knew this sort of acceptance firsthand through his friend Barnabas. I mean, Paul had a terrible reputation, and one that was well-deserved. But after his encounter with Jesus, Paul changed. Barnabas believed that about Paul and accepted him and stood up for him as he introduced Paul to the rest of the apostles. And from this story, we hope kids will learn that friends accept each other. We've talked about loving and accepting our friends, but what happens when our friends hurt us? A huge question for kids is how to respond when something like that happens. There's a moment in the book of John when Peter experienced Jesus' forgiveness. After denying Jesus 3 times, Peter was feeling guilty and ashamed, but Jesus still had plans for Peter. Jesus forgave Peter and restored that broken friendship. And when we put our faith in Jesus, He offers that same forgiveness to us. And in turn, we can offer forgiveness to others. Like Paul wrote to the church at Ephesus, forgive just as the Lord forgave you. We pray that kids will learn that friends forgive each other. And we'll wrap up our month on friendship as we answer the question, how can you be a friend this week? Paul tells the Thessalonian church to encourage one another with the hope you have. But kids might wonder how to go about doing that as they interact with their friends. They may be afraid they'll say or do the wrong thing and make whatever the situation is just worse. Thankfully, we have examples in the Bible of people who did this very well. When Job experienced trial after trial, his friends decided to help. They didn't bring meals or tell jokes, rather, they came alongside and grieved with Job. Now, we find out that they didn't always get it right, but for that first week, they let Job know that they were there for him. And we want kids to discover that friends encourage each other, even if it simply means being a shoulder to lean on. When we look at these stories and principles, we can see that they add up to some amazing ways that kids can use their words and their actions to show others that someone cares about them. I mean, how great would it be for kids to accept, forgive, encourage, and love each other regardless of the situation? That's why, along with the stories for the month, we're having kids and families memorize Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times. They are there to help when trouble comes. Just imagine what could happen in classrooms, playgrounds, and yes, even lunchrooms if kids took these God-sized ideas about friendship to heart. Let's help influence kids in our communities to be real friends to those around them. So no matter what happens, kids would know that someone has their back and will be there to help when trouble comes. Let's be people who are known for being friends who love at all times.